Hello. Yeah, it's been a while since I last made a video. Genuinely can't remember when it was. It's definitely been a couple of months, and it's a bit of a problem because every time there's a topic that I want to talk about, essentially what happens is that I get really excited about it, I start writing a script, and by the time I actually get a chance to sit down and finish it, so much time has passed to the point where that topic just feels like it's barely relevant anymore. And then I become dismayed and decide to shelve that script and think, well, you know what, I'll just wait till something else comes around, and then the cycle just kind of keeps repeating itself. So I figured what I was going to do was try something a little bit different, and hopefully that's what this series can be. I've literally called it Unthinking because there's no script save for just a couple of notes I've jotted down on my iPad so that I do have at least something to kind of rattle off from. But the idea will be that this is just kind of like, let's say I'm diving into the office kitchen for a cup of coffee. Happens quite a lot, I'm a bit of a coffee fiend. And let's say hypothetically, I bump into a colleague and I'm like, hey, did you watch whatever episode of TV last night? Let's talk about it. So it's that kind of casual sort of way of just having a conversation about something, you know, recent in TV or film. And this way it means I can actually get some content out, and it's hopefully not going to take an age to edit and film. So yeah, slightly convoluted explanation, but I hope you can appreciate the sentiment behind it, if that makes sense. So I'm going to stop rattling on and just dive into this week's topic. So Daredevil and She-Hulk. Yeah, so the last video that I made was about Daredevil and the fact that I was quite worried about what the MCU might do with Daredevil, trying to incorporate him into the, I guess, the more standard sort of MCU formula, because let's face it, that was one of the things that made Daredevil and shows like Jessica Jones and Luke Cage so good on Netflix, was that they didn't really adhere to that kind of typical MCU style. They were really gritty, quite raw. The stories that they told were really violent as well, and just they were such good shows. And when Daredevil made that cameo appearance in Spider-Man Spider-Man No Way Home, everyone was really excited because on the one hand it's like, oh my god, Daredevil's back, but at the same time I and a couple of other people felt that, like, what does that actually mean in terms of the character? Because trying to bring him into the fold, it just opens up a kind of can of worms, really, as how do you adapt a character like that was so grounded but very tormented, and try and put him into a very kind of family-friendly setting that is the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And yeah, we got more of an idea of what that is going to be like in She-Hulk. And it's a weird one, because I do think that to some extent this is probably more of a funnier side of Daredevil than we will typically see going forward, because of course She-Hulk is more of a sitcom, but the episode still handled his presence really, really well. In fact, I was really impressed by just how it all kind of came together. Let's face it, She-Hulk, admittedly, while I'm enjoying the show, it isn't without its criticisms. I do think the pacing is a little bit all over the place, and even though it's nice to finally see an MCU show that has figured out that it actually is a TV show and it can use that formula in a different way, the fact that it has spent some episodes deviating from the main plot without really any reason for it. I mean, it's not like, let's say, if you had an episode of The Office, for instance, the US version, and there's an episode that completely deviates from any sort of typical Dunder Mifflin stuff. Usually there'd be a lot of jokes to kind of back up that premise. And in She-Hulk, we've had two episodes where there was the wedding episode and then there's the retreat episode, both of which were quite, I don't know, light on humor and didn't quite justify what was going on. At least I felt that they didn't justify quite so much why they had deviated from the main story, but finally this episode brought things together, and we knew Daredevil was going to turn up because he was in the trailer, but it was just such a good team up. Honestly, the fight scenes were really good. It even incorporated a little bit of Daredevil's iconic hallway scenes, those classic fight scenes now, which I think are just some of the best parts of really anything Marvel that we've seen in the last couple of years. But it still played with it in a funny way. To have that fight scene play out and then She-Hulk just smash through it all and be like, what's the hold up? That was really funny. And probably the best part about it is that as a couple, Jen and Matt make a lot of sense. I mean, they're both lawyers, and as two superheroes, they have a lot in common. So yeah, it just made a lot of sense to see them pair up on screen. And yeah, I just really enjoyed this episode. In fact, there's a moment in it where the classic Daredevil theme starts playing from the Netflix show, and I pretty much leapt out of my seat. I was like, oh my god, he's back. Just had a really geek out fan moment, and I really loved it. But yeah, I think off of this now, I'm interested to see what they actually do with Daredevil in the show that we now know is coming, the 18 episode show Daredevil Born Again. And you know, I'm still slightly skeptical. 18 episodes with this sort of Disney format that they've been doing seems a bit odd. Again, I think the jury's still out on how that all comes together. What I will say is that after this She-Hulk episode, I'm more optimistic than I was. I do think there is a way to incorporate Matt Murdock properly into the MCU without completely getting rid of what made that character so good. Admittedly, anything from here on out is never going to be as violent or as gory as what we saw in the original Netflix show, but I think they can still retain the essence of that character, which I think will be the key going forward. And hopefully that is exactly what it turns out to be, really. I mean, you know what? I'm interested to know what you guys think. Do you think that Daredevil's appearance here was handled well? Do you think it was a bit of a misfire? You know, if there's any dissenting opinions, let them be known in the comments below, and let me know if you appreciate this format. This has definitely been, you know what, it's quite fun just to rattle off how I'm feeling about a, well, TV show in this case, and maybe even a film at some point. Yeah, I think I'm going to go see Ticket to Paradise tonight. I doubt I'm going to make a video about it, but it'd just be nice to know that if I wanted to, I could just jump right on here and start talking about whatever I've seen. In fact, Black Panther Wakanda 2, what's it called? Black Panther Wakanda Forever. That's the movie. That's coming out very soon, so maybe I can do a quick video on that when that finally drops. But yeah, thanks for watching, and if you haven't subscribed already, yeah, please hit the button. It really makes my day to see that subscriber count go up. And yeah, hopefully with this new formula, I'll have more content going out over the coming months. So yeah, thanks for watching, and yeah, see you in the next one.